you said there was a lot of stuff that you want to talk about. Let me talk about the things that stopped this film from being an A for me. And part of it wasn't really this film's fault. It was the other movie's fault. Um,
Ah,
we got another Transformers MacGuffin in this film, right? And so in
yep.
this film, we're talking about the transwarp key. In the first film, it was the cube, right? There's always just something that they're going after to try to give some motivation for these characters. And for me, I was just kind of tired of it.
Yeah.
And you know, other it, from that perspective, it was very paint by numbers. It felt like a National Treasure slash Indiana Jones um, wannabe with giant robots in it. But what saved it, at least for me, was I got to give credit where credit's due. I was shocked that they were able to find a character for Pete Davidson to play that I was just like really into.
Yeah.
Um, so he played Mirage. I
Yep.
generally am not a fan of his, but what I really am not a fan of is like the mute-ish Bumblebee. That didn't really do it for me. So having him paired with Anthony Ramos in this, like I enjoyed Pete Davidson a lot in
Yep.
this film. So that was
I
one of the
didn't
big
even
sustains.
recognize it was him. I didn't I knew the actor and I knew he was in it and I knew that was him. But what was so good about it, and I totally agree, is that I love that character. He made it for me, and it really wasn't, should we say, a traditional Pete Davidson shtick or character. I really enjoyed it. He made that movie for me. This movie. It's what it's what elevated it, and that dynamic between the two, considering he is a giant robot and is human, that was great. So some of the physical interaction was a bit loosey goosey with the special effects, but their actual sparring with each other. And this is one of the things that kind of not frustrates me, but with the movie, because there were certain aspects to the script that I thought were great. I thought the actual dialogue between the actors was really, really good. It was actually just the story, like you said, about the MacGuffin again, and then go to here and do this, and go to here and do that. And then someone would come along and just exposition for 30 seconds and just explain stuff. And that was really loose. And then you'd have some sort of cheesy one liner, and you think, oh, there's the typical Transformers movie stuff. But then you would have the interaction between either the human characters or the humans and the robots. Optimus Prime's little growth throughout the movie was good. I don't recall seeing
He
that
had
very
an
much.
arc.
There was an actual character development, and that was what was kind of great about this film, is that you can't help but think of the other movies, but if you get rid of them and just think, okay, this is the sequel, should we say, to Bumblebee, it's what elevated the film for me. I really enjoyed that bit. The screenplay, character work was great. Just the story, like you said, was a little bit Transformers-esque, Michael Bay-esque.
Yeah, and the other thing, I can't tell if this is a Michael Bay thing or a technology thing. The other thing that I really liked about this is we got to pull back from the Transformers and see the action. One of my biggest problems with the Transformers films generally is that we're like right up their
Yeah,
asses, and it's
yeah,
hard, and like quick cuts and
yeah,
so close to them, it's hard to see what the fighting is happening, what the action is
100%.
going on.
That's Michael Bay,
And
though.
this,
That's his stuff, and I don't like it. I
yeah,
don't. That's why I love the action in this.
yeah, pulling back, and not only was it good, it was dramatic, right?
Yeah,
There are scenes when Scourge like stabs somebody, and like you feel it when you shoot
yeah,
somebody, like you feel something for that character.
yeah.
And so good on them for taking these CGI characters and giving us something dramatic to do with them. So that part was really fun.
Yeah, and that, I agree. And I don't know if you noticed this too, but the obviously the special effects are pretty good. But did you notice that the actual transformation stuff, they've taken some of the detail out, whereas a couple of later Michael Bay films, they had, you seem to notice every screw and
Yeah.
nut transforming. In this one, it was a little bit more simple transformation. I think that made them. I actually made them look better as Transformers. It made them feel
Yeah.
more like the toys that we used to play with. They were very
Yes.
simple transformations. The doors folded here and they all slotted into here. That was great, and that helped with the action because it meant that there wasn't the need for that snap editing and close-ups and stuff. It felt that you could put everything in camera, show what was actually going on, the geography of the fight scenes and stuff, and it was actually really good. I'd like to know if they actually thought if they had a fight choreographer look at that a little bit. That would be interesting to
Mm.
me if they had a real, should we say, a human fight choreographer, someone that might work on, for example, a John Wick film or something, and actually say, look, people are going to enjoy action more if they can actually see what the hell is going on and who's where and where they are in the fight. I loved it. I love that stuff, and that for me overrode the dodgy story bit, like the MacGuffin, like you said. Yeah, for sure, it was plus.
And I agree with you. Like the phrase that came to mind as you were talking was like action figure. Like I thought that they did a really good job of going back to the roots of like, this is a franchise based on action figures. We don't need to see that minutia of like how all of that stuff works, which I really liked. If I had to point to another complaint, and this is just me, right? I don't know what your relation is to Transformers or Beast Wars, but for me, getting to see like Optimus Primal and Cheetor and Rhinox on screen, like for me, I was like, it was so great. Yeah. But it was disappointing, at least for Rhinox and Cheetor, to like not hear a lot from them. I really loved their dynamic in the cartoon and in the series. So to have them kind of as background characters in this, like I get it. It's hard to do all of that. But I really kind of missed that.
I was much more, sorry, Jonesy, I was very much Transformers when I was a kid. But the what did you say, the Beast Wars and stuff? I don't remember owning, if any, of the Beast Transformers, for want of a better word. It was all the planes.
G1, baby, G1.
Yeah. But saying that, I totally agree. But they did quite a good job, though, of showing that they had a really nice team dynamic with that group, though. I didn't need to see them all being together to know that they clearly have been together a long time, were friends for a long time, and enjoyed many, missions and adventures for a long time. So I thought that was great. I did enjoy them, but I understand if you were more of a fan of those characters that, they did seem a little underserved.
Yeah, underserved,
Can I ask a kind of a related question? Did either of you guys watch the War for Cybertron trilogy on Netflix? How did you like the beasts in the primals in that? Because I really enjoyed like that. That was Transformers for grown-ups. You know what I'm saying? So I'm kind of curious what you thought.
So that trilogy was. So we actually did a really fun interview with one of the actresses, Lindsay Rousseau. She actually joined us on the podcast. So I cannot remember her character's name, but she was the female lead in that series, and she joined Jammer and I,
the one that was
an
like
episode and hung out with
back
us
on Cybertron. Yeah.
The show itself was slow to start, but it actually, for me, picked up when they got to that part, and I really liked that. And the Optimus Prime Megatron story was less interesting to me than the Beast Wars characters in that. So to your point, I thought that they were really well done in that series.
You should check them out, Danny.
What I didn't like about this one was not dislike, the one of the characters I was missing was Rat Trap. I really like Rat Trap as a character. So he is like, think of Rocket Raccoon. He is basically the Rocket Raccoon of the Beast Wars series. So, and the James Gunn iteration of Guardians Rocket Raccoon. Like, if you ever watch the Beast Wars, you'd be like, oh yeah, I get it. Like, he even has that same kind of fall New York accent, and so it's a lot of fun. But you know, those are minor complaints.
Well, there's certainly, in this universe or this world they've created, there's certainly scope to bring in these other characters, because we had multiple Transformers just appearing out of nowhere anyway, right? When you thought that there was only a few, all conveniently as usual in New York somewhere. But then we had the old guy flying the plane, or the old guy that is the plane, and then we had the VW Spanish Beetle. That was a fun little scene. That was actually really quite fun. Like, how can I be racist? You're a robot. I don't. And it was really clever. That was the script and the writing that
He said, "Where are you from?"
Yeah,
so from Cybertron.
But you got Spanish. I don't. And you could see.
I laughed
that
so hard at that.
Yeah, me too. I was laughing because of all the connotations that brings. I thought that's a clever bit of soft, gentle writing that the kids will enjoy, but the adults are smugly sitting there going, yeah, that's quite clever, that. I like that. Anyway, these characters were popping up out of nowhere. I mean, who knows how many Transformers are actually on Earth right now, right? Who knows? There could be countless others. There was certain nods and winks that I liked. Even when Mirage said, "Oh, they can fly now," where we're used to with the old Transformer films having Starscream and stuff, all of them flying. But now they were just genuinely surprised to see one that can actually fly.
Yeah,
it was great.
Well, and to Mirage's point, like I love that scene where the old guy that was the airplane, when he crash landed, and he's like, "I'll walk to Peru."
Yeah, it's brilliant. It was really fun, and his timing on that was great. So in Pete Davidson's credit and the animators' credit, they've managed to get things together and to give the robots enough of a personality and enough animation in their faces and body language to really pull those jokes off. It was good. I loved even the way that when Optimus Prime first turned up and just transformed into a robot, and the way he was marching towards people, he had some arrogant, cocky ass swagger in the way he was walking. Deservedly so. He's a Prime. But I love the fact they put that movement into him as they say, "Yeah, I'm the daddy around here. I'm the big guy around here."
But going back to the other point about him having an arc, what I loved is that Optimus Primal was actually disappointed in him, right? He's like, this guy is a legend. And he's like, fuck this guy. Like, and so I love that Optimus Primal got to be the wise one and say like, no, these humans, like we protect them. We live in harmony with them and blah, blah, blah. And you see that this is part of the reason why Optimus Prime becomes the person that he becomes, which actually makes one of the scenes in a couple of the Transformers films by Michael Bay more disappointing, because you'll see as those movies go along, he's actually more callous. He becomes more callous and less caring about humans. Like I distinctly remember a scene where I think it was in the second or third one. I think it was in the third one where he said something like, "Yeah, we left so you all could see how badly you needed us," right? Like they were like, "Oh, we thought you guys left," and it was like, "No, we just had to leave so you could see how bad the Decepticons were gonna kill you guys." I was like, "Wow, that's pretty deep."
So I'm gonna go with this then, Jonesy. When was, because this was set in 1994, right?
Yes.
And when was Bumblebee set? I'm going to assume
like 89.
That it was before this, right? So I'm looking at this as Bumblebee was the restart, the reboot, not a revamp, not a prequel to the others, but the actual first, could we say, Transformers movie. And this is a sequel to that one.
I don't know, and it's funny that was
Prime
the question.
Said to Bumblebee, he said, "I know you've been friends with one before, or I know you've made friends with one before."
He's talking about Haley Steinfeld.
Was it?
He's talking about Haley Steinfeld from Bumblebee.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I was thinking, okay, so this was set after Bumblebee, but actually a sequel to Bumblebee. So we need to kind of, I'm going to say that this is the new Transformers. Forget the other ones. They were their own syncette or quartet or however they were.
I don't think there's been any official things,
one way or the other.
What they're
but there's no way you could.
That's what I'm saying is they're basically soft saying it is the way it feels, is by just letting people run with it online and just making the movies as they go along. They're not trying to do at least it looks like they're not trying to pull a Foxman, with the X-Men stuff that Fox did. So good on them. Really good on them if that's the way it seems.
It's working.
I want to see it. I relatively enjoyed Bumblebee, and I'm wondering if my son could, just watch Bumblebee and then go enjoy this instead of, going through the Bay films. So
100%.
Might try that out. I'm not the world's biggest Beast Wars guy, but I do love me some giant transforming robots beating the shit out of each other. So
it's a lot of fun.
And you get that. You do actually get that. You get one-on-one fights. You get the big group fights. You do get that. Unfortunately, Jonesy, we do get the laser beam pointing into the sky thing.
Yeah.
Rather than the heavy thing falling from the sky, we get the laser beam pointing up thing. But little things like that. Overall, I don't think took me out of it. Enjoyed it. My girlfriend enjoyed it. She even said that she loved it when the beasts transformed into their ultimate beast or whatever they're called, maximal beast. That was one of those kind of like
when they maximized, baby,
kind of moments. Yeah, that's it. And then they started kicking some ass. So even the climax stuff was done in a way that was it was a fun ending. Talking of endings, Jonesy, before we move on, the little reveal, the little tie-in with the other franchise. What do we feel about that? I know it's a Hasbro franchise, but I was not expecting.
I'm conflicted.
No idea how I feel about it.
I'm conflicted. So this is not
the G.I. Joe tie-in finally happened.
Yes,
oh my God, who's in it?
So this is so they haven't said right. So what they did was the main character, Anthony Ramos, from this, he's part of his arc in this is he's looking for a job, and based on his skills, because he's in the army, every character has to be in the army.
Yes.
He was like a private. He had issues. He got kicked out. And so,
damn it, Snuffy.
These characters come to him and they offer him a job, and it turns out that I think his name is Burke. That this organization he's trying to get him to join is the Joes, and that's really it. Like, he gives him a card, he slides it across the table, he goes behind this false wall, and Anthony Ramos looks behind the false wall and sees that there's some bay area where they're doing military shit, and
it looked like a troop carrier, right? It looked to me like it was one of the Joe's troop carriers that was being worked on. Drop ships.
It's a popular thing to do in the comics, so
it is. And to that point, so this is an unprecedented, right? So there was a 1986 crossover with Transformers and G.I. Joe, and then they did a follow-up to that in the 90s. And so it exists. This is the thing. I think it was G.I. Joe versus Transformers. So I'm going to have to go back and read that to see how this works. But you actually got a little bit of that in the movie, right? So when Mirage covers Anthony Ramos as part of his, like, you know, the battle suit or whatever you call it, that actually felt like a callback to. That actually felt like a callback to the very first G.I. Joe movie, The Rise of Cobra. Like, if you go back and think about that movie with Channing Tatum and Marlon Wayans, they have those suits, something very similar. So that was kind of interesting to me.
People made fun of those suits when that movie came out. I thought with the suit thing that you see in the trailer for the Transformers character, I thought of when Spike had a suit in the old G1 cartoon. So I didn't think G.I. Joe, but good point.
Well, I was looking at that as
I think both
the Joes got the technology to do that stuff from the Transformers. That's how I was seeing it. So rather than it being an earthbound technology that for some reason the Joes have managed to invent, they've actually borrowed, stolen from the Transformers, which makes it a little bit more, if you believe in giant robots from space coming and living on our planet, it makes that a little bit more believable, right? Okay, it's not our tech. We've stolen it. We borrowed it. We've been given it.
We've
been given it by some other guys. That makes it a bit more palatable. Do you think they've earned it, though, after what is, in essence, as we just discussed, 2 movies?
No.
I don't think they've earned that just yet. I think we needed to be a bit more, I don't know.
Maybe they plan on doing a good G.I. Joe movie at all before?
And so
before a crossover?
The question, right? So that's the question of what's coming next. I would be down for either. It seems like, given that tag, we are either expecting a Transformers X G.I. Joe for the next film, or a G.I. Joe film for the next film. I would be okay with either. I would prefer to get a standalone Joe movie before they do that. And so go the Godzilla King Kong route. Give me a give me a Skull Island movie, give me a Godzilla movie, and then go ahead and do the combination after that. I would like to see these franchises grow on their own before you mash them up.
Yep. Yeah, because if you bring in Joe characters that we don't like, it might spoil the broth of what at the moment we're enjoying the Transformer characters, right? You bring in have a G.I. Joe movie, see if there's characters that stick and that we like and enjoy, based on feedback and reviews and money, and then, like you say, bring them together. So I'm okay with it, but I just don't think, like we just said, they haven't earned it yet. I definitely agree. A Joe movie first, see what the response is, see what the quality is, and then bring us a mashup.
You think Sega is going to let them keep the Sonic code name? Because that's who he would have to be, right? Like, that's the only thing that would make sense based on, I don't know.
Well, just going back on that again, just reminded me of some fun parts of the script. The throwback to Marky Mark and stuff. What the actors are becoming? Sorry, pop stars are becoming actors now. I even said to the guys I was with, I said, "There's no way they can be connected to this movie now because now we've just admitted that this exists in this universe. So Marky Mark now can't be that scientist guy that owns a farm in the middle of whatever."
Yeah, I love that. That was great.
But it was fun. It was fun dialogue, and it was delivered really well. So I enjoyed it. It was.
Can you believe he's leaving the Funky Bunch to go acting?
Yeah,
that was great. That was great.
The music choices were brilliant. It was right in the 90s. I love the 90s feel to it. When there was music playing in the background, it felt like a 90s movie sometimes, the way they did those scenes. So yeah, I'm edging there, Jonesy. I'm closer to a C+.
Okay. All right. I love that you're edging. Anything else to say in spoilers before we jump out and talk about some other stuff?
I think we've spoiled enough. Go see it.
All right.
Go see it.